In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make this rabbit. This is an intermediate level project and it's a great baby gift. For this project, you'll need both blue and white yarn, a 5mm crochet hook, some scissors, a tapestry needle, some stitch markers, and 6 grams of stuffing. To begin the project, we'll start with the white yarn and we'll make a magic ring. And then we'll do 6 single crochets into the magic ring. So insert your hook into the middle of the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. So that's your first single crochet done, and we want to do 5 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we can tighten up our magic ring by pulling on the loose end. And we want to slip stitch with the first single crochet of the round. So the first one we did over here, we're going to insert our hook into the top of it, yarn over and pull through all of the loops on your hook. And that has joined your work in the round. For round 2, we're going to do a single crochet increase into each stitch. So starting in this first stitch that we've just slip stitched with, we'll place 1 single crochet. So insert your hook into there, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. And because that's the first stitch of this round, we're going to pop a stitch marker into the top of it. So just finding the top of that stitch there, popping a stitch marker into it, and that's going to allow us to find the start of our round nice and easily. As I said, we're working a single crochet increase into each stitch. We've already done 1 single crochet, so we need to do another one now into that same stitch. So inserting your hook into that same stitch we just worked into and working another single crochet. And we're going to work the same thing all the way around, just working 2 single crochets into each stitch so that at the end of the round we have a total of 12 stitches. So go ahead and work all of that and meet me at the end of the round. So we're back at the beginning of the round now, and we can take our stitch marker out and get started on round 3. For round 3, we're going to place a single crochet increase into the first stitch and then 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and repeat that all the way around. So this first stitch here, we're going to work 2 single crochets into there, just like we did in the previous round. So there's 1, and because that's the first stitch of the round, we'll pop a stitch marker into that stitch so that we can find that nice and easily. And then we'll work another single crochet into that same stitch. So that's our single crochet increase done. And then in the next stitch, we're just going to work 1 single crochet on its own. And we'll repeat that pattern around. So the next stitch is going to have 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and the stitch after that will just have 1. So go ahead and work in that pattern all the way around until you get to the end, where you should have a total of 18 stitches. When we finish that round, we can get started on round 4. So we can remove our stitch marker. And we're going to start this round off in the same way. We're going to work a single crochet increase into that first stitch. So 1 single crochet into there, pop the stitch marker into there because that is the first stitch of the round. And then work another single crochet into that same stitch to complete our single crochet increase. And then we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So 1 single crochet into here, and then the next stitch along, 1 single crochet into here. And we're going to repeat this pattern all the way along. So this first stitch is going to have a single crochet increase, and then the next 2 stitches are going to have 1 single crochet each. So this first stitch, we'll work 1 single crochet, and then another single crochet into there. And then the second stitch is getting 1 single crochet, and the third stitch is getting 1 single crochet as well. And you'll continue working all the way around until you get back to your stitch marker. And at the end of the round, you should have a total of 24 stitches. On to round 5 now, and we can take out our stitch marker. And for this round, we're going to start with our single crochet increase, just as we have been doing previously. So 1 single crochet into there, pop the stitch marker in, and then work a second single crochet into that first stitch. Then we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and we'll repeat this pattern around. So single crochet increase into this first stitch, 1 and 2 into that stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So go ahead and work that all the way around, and at the end of the round you should have a total of 30 stitches. For round 6 to 11, we're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch, not working any increases at all. So we're just going to work 1 single crochet into the first stitch. Remember to pop our stitch marker in there so we can easily find the start of the round. And then we'll just continue working 1 single crochet into each stitch. So go ahead and work like this for rounds 6 to 11 and meet me back here ready to get started on round 12. When you've finished all of those single crochet rounds, we can move on to round 12. And for this, we're going to start with 1 single crochet in this first stitch and then pop our stitch marker back into there. And then we'll do 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 and there's 2. And then over the next 2 stitches, we're going to do a single crochet decrease. And to do that, we're going to insert our hook into the first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, insert our hook into the second stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And then for the rest of the round, we're going to repeat the pattern of 1 single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches, followed by a single crochet decrease. So let's do that once more together. 1 single crochet in the first 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, and 3, and then a decrease over the next 2 stitches. So insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert your hook into the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. So keep working like that until you get to the end of the round, where you should be left with 24 stitches. For round 13, we're going to be doing something similar to round 12, but there's going to be 2 single crochets between the decreases. So we'll pop 1 single crochet into this first stitch, and then place our stitch marker into that stitch. Then we'll do 1 single crochet into the second stitch, and then we'll do our single crochet decrease across these 2 stitches. And then for the rest of the round, we're just going to put 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, followed by a single crochet decrease. So you can go ahead and work the rest of the round like that. And at the end of the round, you should be left with 18 stitches. And then for round 14, we're going to start with 1 single crochet in the first stitch. And then pop your stitch marker in there. And then we'll work a single crochet decrease over the next 2 stitches. And for the rest of the round, we're just going to alternate between doing 1 single crochet and doing a single crochet decrease. So continue all the way around the round in that pattern. And at the end of the round, you should be left with 12 stitches. Now, before we go any further, we need to stuff the head of our rabbit. So I'm going to remove my crochet hook by pulling up on the loop to make it bigger, and then just take the hook out. And then I'm going to start adding stuffing to the head. So just take your stuffing and push it in through that hole that we've got left. And keep adding it until the head is nice and firm. Once you've finished adding the stuffing, we're going to pop our crochet hook back in the loop and then pull on the working yarn to tighten that up. And then we're going to work 1 more round to close up this hole. And all we're going to do is we're going to work single crochet decreases all around. So we'll place 1 single crochet decrease across these first 2 stitches. And then we can pop our stitch marker in the top of there. And then we'll just continue all the way around doing single crochet decreases. And that should be a total of 6 stitches when you get to the end of the round. And when you've finished round 15, we can cut our yarn. And we want to leave a tail that's about 15 inches long so that we can use that for sewing later on. So cut your yarn, and then just pull up on your crochet hook to pull that yarn all the way through and fasten off. Now we're going to add the eyes and the nose to the head, and for that we need a long strand of our blue yarn on our tapestry needle, and we're going to insert our tapestry needle into the back of the head and come up on the front and bring it out through the front where we want our eye to be. So I'm just bringing mine out about here. I'm pulling that almost all the way through. And then we're going to insert our needle back in along the same row that we came out on. So we came out here, and I'm going to go back in probably about 2 stitches over like this. And then I want to come back out up here, right between these 2 spots, but in the row above. So I'm going to come back out here. And I'm going to pull that almost all the way through until we've just got a small loop left. And we want to make sure this loop is on top of our needle. So I'm just going to bring my needle underneath that loop and then continue pulling tightly. And you can see that creates a nice curve for the eye. And then we're going to go back in through the same spot that we just came out of. And we'll come out over here to make the next eye. So we'll leave a few stitches between and come out about here. And we'll just repeat those steps again. So on the same row, we'll go in 2 or 3 stitches over and then come back out in the middle stitch between them on the row above. Pull it almost all the way through, bring our needle under that loop, and then pull it tightly. And you can see you've now got 2 eyes. And then we'll insert back into the same spot, and we want to come down here so that we can make our nose. And for the nose, we're just going to make a vertical line. So I'm going to come out here. And then we'll go back in here, and we'll bring our needle out through the back of the head. Like this. Pulling that nice and tightly, and you've now got a nose. And then we'll just cut our yarn on the back here. And we'll cut this loose end that we've got from the start. And that is the rabbit's face all finished. Next, we're going to start making the ears for the rabbit. We're going to be using the white yarn again, and we're going to begin with a magic ring. And for round 1, we're going to work 5 single crochets into the magic ring. So inserting your hook into the middle of the ring, working our single crochet stitch, and we'll need a total of 5. So that's 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we can take the loose end of the magic ring and pull it to tighten up that loop. And then we're going to slip stitch with the first single crochet of the round to join. So just inserting into that stitch, yarning over, pulling through that stitch and the loop on our hook. That is round 1 complete. And for round 2, we're going to work 1 single crochet into the first 4 stitches. So let's do that first. 1 single crochet into this first stitch. And because that's the first stitch of the round, we'll pop our stitch marker into there so we can easily find it. And then 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. And then into the last stitch, we're going to work a single crochet increase. So we're going to work 2 single crochets into this stitch. So there's 1, and then back into the same stitch, there's 2. For round 3, we're going to start with 1 single crochet into this first stitch. And of course, we'll pop our stitch marker into there because it's the first stitch of the round. And then we'll work a single crochet increase into the next stitch. So 1 single crochet into there, and then back into the same stitch, a second single crochet. And we'll repeat that pattern all the way around. 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then an increase into the stitch after that. And when you get to the end of the round, you should have a total of 9 stitches. For rounds 4 to 8, we're just going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch. So 1 single crochet into the first stitch, pop the stitch marker into there, and then 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So you can go ahead and work rounds 4 to 8 on your own and meet me back here ready to start round 9. And then when that's all done for round 9, we're going to start with a single crochet decrease across the first 2 stitches. So insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert your hook into the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and then pop your stitch marker into the top of that stitch. Then we'll work 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 and 2, and then we'll do another decrease stitch across the next 2 stitches. And then we'll work 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches to end the round. 1, 2, and 3. And then for rounds 10 to 13, we're just going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So 1 single crochet in the first stitch, pop your stitch marker in, and then 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So go ahead and work rounds 10 to 13 and meet me back here where we'll finish off the ear. When you finish round 13, we can cut our yarn, leaving a 15-inch tail. And then we can fasten up by pulling up on the loop. And of course, our rabbit needs 2 ears, so go ahead and repeat all of those steps we've just done to create this one to make your second one. And when you've got both ears complete, the next step is to get started on the arms. So again, working with our white yarn, we're going to make a magic ring. And for round 1, we're going to work 6 single crochets into the magic ring. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we'll pull on our loose end to tighten it up. And then we can slip stitch with the first single crochet to join. And then for round 2, we're going to work a single crochet increase into each stitch. So we'll start in this first stitch, work 1 single crochet, and then we'll pop our stitch marker into that first stitch so that we can find that nice and easily. And then we'll work a second single crochet into that same stitch. And we're going to repeat that all the way around, just working 2 single crochets into each stitch until we have a total of 12 stitches at the end of the round. And then for rounds 3 to 5, we're just going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch. So we'll work 1 single crochet into this first stitch, pop the stitch marker in, and then work 1 single crochet into each stitch around. And you're doing that for rounds 3 to 5, so go ahead and work that on your own and meet me back here ready to start round 6. For round 6, we're going to start with a single crochet decrease. So insert a hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Insert your hook into the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. Pop your stitch marker in that stitch. Then we're going to put 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to work 1 more single crochet decrease. And then we'll put 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches again. And at the end of the round, you should have 10 stitches. And then for rounds 7 to 12, we're just going to do the same thing as before. We're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch. Don't forget to pop your stitch marker into the first stitch of the round so you don't lose your place. But go ahead and work rounds 7 to 12 on your own and meet me back here where we'll finish up the arm. Once you finish round 12, we can cut off our yarn, leaving about a 15-inch tail. And then fasten off. And then we need to add some stuffing to the arm, so just quite a small amount. stuffing that in there. And of course, our rabbit needs 2 arms, so go ahead and repeat all of the steps that you've just done to create the second arm. And now it's time to get started on the blanket portion. So we're going to start with blue yarn. We're going to make a magic circle. And we're going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And this chain 4 is going to count as a double crochet and a chain 1. So the chain 3 is the double crochet, and then the last chain is the chain 1. And for this first round, what we're going to do is we're going to work a double crochet into the ring. So yarn over, insert into the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then we're going to chain 1. And then we're going to repeat that 6 more times. So double crochet into the ring, chain 1, double crochet into the ring, chain 1. And you want to end up with 8 double crochets in total, including this first chain here, because as I said, that is going to count as a double crochet. So when you've got those 8 double crochets separated by chain 1s and ending on a chain 1 there, we're going to pull this loose end to tighten up the loop. And we want to slip stitch with the 3rd chain of this chain 4 that we did at the beginning. So just going into this 3rd chain here and slip stitching. So for round 2, we're going to start by slip stitching into the first chain space. So that is this one right here. We can see we've got our first stitch here, our second stitch here, and between them is a chain. And this space underneath is the chain space, and we're going to slip stitch to there. So we're going to insert our hook into that space, yarn over, and pull through everything on our hook. So we've just slip stitched to that chain space. Then we're going to start with a chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. And we're going to work 1 double crochet into that same space that we just slip stitched with. So yarn over, insert into that chain space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next chain space. So if we look past the next stitch, we've got another chain space here. We're going to work 2 double crochets into there. So 1 and 2, and then we're going to chain 2, and we're going to repeat this all the way around. We're going to work 2 double crochets into the next chain space. So 1, 2, and then chain 2. So go ahead and keep working until you get to the end of the round, and I'll meet you there and show you how we're going to finish things up. When you've worked into each of the chain spaces around, and you finished your last set of double crochets, and then you've got your chain 2, we're going to slip stitch with the 3rd chain from this starting chain here. So you're going to insert into there and just slip stitch. And then for round 3, we're going to slip stitch into the first double crochet. So that's this one here. We'll slip stitch into the top of there. And then we'll slip stitch into the chain space as well. And then we're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. And we're going to work a double crochet into that same chain space. And then we'll chain 2. And we're going to work 2 more double crochets into that same chain space. So there's 1 and there's 2. So you've got your starting chain 3, a double crochet, chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets all worked into that same chain space. And then for the rest of the round, we're going to work a large shell into each of the chain spaces. So for a large shell, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So 1, 2, chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets into that same space. Just like that. So continue working all the way around. In each chain space, you're working one of these shells, which is made up of 2 double crochets, followed by a chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets. And meet me at the end of the round, and I'll show you how we're going to finish it up. Once you've worked into all of the chain spaces and you get to the end of the round, we're just going to slip stitch with the third chain of this starting chain, just like we did on the previous round. And then for round 4, we're going to slip stitch into the first double crochet, slip stitch into the chain space, just like we did before, and then we're going to chain 3. Then we're going to work our large shell stitch into this first chain space. So that's 2 double crochets, 1, 2, then chain 2, and 2 more double crochets into that same space, 1, 2. Then we're going to work a double crochet into this next stitch here, which is this one, just working into the top of that stitch. Then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, so skipping this one, and we're going to work a double crochet into this stitch here. And we're going to repeat this pattern that we've just done all the way around. So in the chain space, we'll work a large shell, which is 2 double crochets, followed by a chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets into the chain space, double crochet into the next stitch, skip 2 stitches, double crochet in the third stitch, and then you're back at the next chain space where you can start again with your large shell. So go ahead and work that all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end. At the end of the round here, we're just going to do what we've been doing all along, which is to slip stitch with the third chain from our beginning chain. The only thing is we're going to change color. So insert your hook as normal. You can drop the blue yarn, pick up the white yarn, and you're going to use that to create your yarn over and pull through everything on your hook. And we're going to continue working with the white yarn now. And for round 5, we're going to start by slip stitching with the next double crochet, which is this one right here. So slip stitch into there. Then we're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. Double crochet into the next stitch. So this one here, double crochet into that one. And then we'll work a large shell into this chain space here. So 2 double crochets, 1, 2, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets, 1, 2, and then we'll work 1 double crochet into these next 2 stitches. So 1 into that one, and then 1 into the next one. And then we're going to skip 2 stitches. And then the pattern that we're going to work all the way around is this. We're going to work 1 double crochet into each of those 2 stitches. So 1 and 2. Then we'll work our large shell into the chain space. So 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 more double crochets into the same chain space. And then 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. 1, 2, and then skip the next 2 stitches and start again from here. So go ahead and continue working all the way around until you get to the end, and I will meet you there. And to end the round, of course, we are going to slip stitch with the third chain. Onto round 6, and we'll start by slip stitching into the first double crochet here. Then we're going to chain 3, so 1, 2, 3, and work 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2. And then the pattern that we're going to be working around is going to look like this. We're going to start with a large shell in this chain space. So 2 double crochets, chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets, 1 and 2, and then we'll work 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3, then skip the next 2 stitches and work 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches after that. And then you are back at your chain space where you can start again with your large shell. So go ahead and work that pattern all the way around and meet me at the end of the round. At the end of the round, we are once again going to slip stitch with the 3rd chain to join. And then for round 7, we're going to start by slip stitching into the next stitch, which is this one right here. Then we're going to chain 3, and then we're going to work 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. And then in the chain space, I'm sure you can guess what we're going to do. We're going to do a large shell in there. So 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets. Then we're going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then skip 2, so skipping that one, and then work 1 double crochet in the next 4 stitches. 2, 3, 4. And we are back at our chain space where we can start again with our large shell. So go ahead and work all the way around until you get to the end of the round. And at the end of the round, you can slip stitch with the 3rd chain to join, just as we have been doing in all of the previous rounds. For round 8, we're going to slip stitch into the next double crochet, and then chain 3, and then place 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. And then the pattern that we're going to be working all the way around is a large shell into this chain space. So 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 more double crochets, and then we'll work 1 double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll skip the next 2 stitches and work 1 double crochet into the next 5 stitches, and that is going to take us up to the next chain space where we'll start the pattern again with our large shell. So you can go ahead and work this all the way around until you get to the end of the round. At the end of the round, we're going to slip stitch and join our blue yarn again, so we can cut that now so that that is ready to rejoin at the end of the round. But go ahead and work all of that, and I will meet you ready to start round 9. With our blue yarn attached again, we can get started on round 9, and we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, chain 3, and then work 1 double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. And then the pattern that we're going to be working all the way around is work a large shell into the chain space. So 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 more double crochets, then work 1 double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then skip 2 stitches and work 1 double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. And at that point, you'll be back at your next chain space where you can begin again from your shell stitch. So go ahead and work that until you get to the end of the round, and at the end of the round you can slip stitch with the 3rd chain to join. For round 10, we're going to slip stitch with the 1st double crochet. Then we're going to chain 3, work 1 double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then the pattern that we're going to repeat around is work a shell stitch into the chain space, then work 1 double crochet into the next 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Then skip the next 2 stitches and work 1 double crochet into the next 7 stitches again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then we're back at the next chain space, so you can start that pattern all over again and continue all the way around. And when you get to the end of the round, you can slip stitch with the 3rd chain. For round 11, we're going to slip stitch with the 1st double crochet, chain 3, and then work 1 double crochet in the first 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the pattern that we're going to be repeating all the way around starts with a shell stitch in the chain space, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 8 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then skip 2 stitches and again work 1 double crochet into the next 8 stitches, and that's going to take you to the next chain space where you can start the pattern again with your shell stitch. And you can repeat that all the way around, and when you get to the end, slip stitch with the 3rd chain to join. On to round 12 now, which is our very last round, and we're going to slip stitch with the 1st double crochet and then chain 3, and then we'll work 1 double crochet into each of the next 8 stitches. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And of course, we are now at our chain space, so we're going to work our large shell, and this is the start of the repeat that we're going to work for the round. So there's 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 more double crochets, and then we're going to work 1 double crochet into each of the next 9 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. And then we're going to skip 2 stitches. And of course, work 1 double crochet into each of the next 9 stitches, at which point you'll be back at your chain space where you can start the pattern repeat again with your large shell. And you're going to continue working like that all the way around until you get to the very end, where you will slip stitch with the chain 3 to join. And because this is the last round, you can actually just go ahead and cut the yarn and fasten off after that point. And then I will meet you back here where we'll start assembling the rabbit. The first step of assembling our rabbit is to attach the ears, but before we do that, we want to close up this end here. So thread your tapestry needle onto the loose end that we've left. And we're just going to sew this together by finding 1 stitch on this side, finding another stitch on the other side, going through both of them, and pulling the yarn all the way through. And then we'll go back this way. So we're just going to zigzag across. So we're going into this stitch, into the stitch underneath it, and pulling the yarn all the way through. And then I think we'll just do 1 more in the end here, pulling that all the way through. And now that end is nice and tightly sealed. And we're going to take our rabbit, and we want the ear to be sort of directly on the head up here. And you can play around a little bit with where you want this placement to be, but for mine, I think about there looks quite good. So we're going to continue using this tail that we've already got attached. And we're just going to insert that into the head where we want the end of that ear to go. So about there. And then we're going to come up next to it. So just like that, going under about 1 stitch. Pulling that nice and tightly. And then we want to go in through the bottom of the ear, coming out the other side. Pulling that all the way through. And then we'll go back into the head just here. Again, coming out through the next stitch along. And then we can go back into the ear again, coming out the other side. And you just want to go all the way along the bottom of the ear, sewing it onto the head. Once you've made it to the other end, we're going to insert our needle through the head and come out somewhere else. So like that. So we want to go right through the middle of the head. And we're going to pull that all the way through. And then again, we're going to go back in to that same spot that we just came out of. And we're going to come out somewhere else in the head. And basically what we're doing is we're just weaving this end in through the middle of the head and into the stuffing. And that's going to stop that ear coming undone. And we'll just do that once more. We'll go back in through that hole we've just come out of. Go through the center of the head and come out on the other side somewhere. And once we've done that 3 times, we can go ahead and cut that yarn nice and close to the fabric. And that is our first ear attached. And then you want to go ahead and repeat those steps, attaching the other one on this side. And then you should have both ears attached like this. And if, like me, at the bottom here, you've got quite an open hole, we're just going to close that up really quickly. And to do that, we're going to thread this loose end onto the tapestry needle. And we're going to find these 6 stitches around here, and we're going to come through the front loop of those stitches. So just like that, come through the first one, find the next one along, come under the front loop. Just repeat this all the way around. And when you get to the end of the round, you can just pull that tail tightly, and that's going to close that hole. That's just going to make the next step a bit easier. Don't cut that yarn because we're going to need that later on. And next we want to attach the arms, and just like with the ears, we're going to start by sewing the ends together here. So just in exactly the same way, finding 1 stitch in the bottom, 1 stitch in the top, going through both of them, pulling the yarn all the way through, and then next stitch along, zigzagging back and forth until you get to the very end. And then when that is sewn together, we want to attach it to the head. It's going to go sort of directly on the bottom of the head there. You do need to leave a bit of a gap in the middle where we sew the blanket on, but about there is quite a good spot. And this is going to be sewn on in exactly the same way that we did the ears. So we're going to go into the head, come out in the next stitch over, and then go into the arm, come out the other side of the arm, pull the yarn all the way through, and then again back into the head, and we'll just repeat that all the way along until the first arm is attached. And then when you've made it all the way along, we're just going to hide this tail in the same way that we did with the tails for the ears, just going all the way through the middle of the head 3 times and then cut it off. And then of course you're going to repeat this step with the other arm, but attaching it to the other side of the head. And when you've finished all of that, we'll meet back here and finish up by attaching the blanket. And the very last assembly step is to attach the head to the blanket. And we want to use this tail coming directly from the bottom of the head and attach it to the center of the blanket. So I've got my tapestry needle on that tail, and I'm just going to bring it straight through the center of the blanket, pulling that all the way through. And we basically just want to go back and forth a few times so that it's nice and secure. So I'm going to go back in, not through the exact same hole, but one right next to it. And then back into the head, again, coming out through a slightly different stitch, but still somewhere near that center. And then back through the blanket. Just going back and forth like that a few times so that we've got quite a few nice sturdy stitches. And then once you've done a few sturdy stitches, you're just going to weave in this loose tail into the head like we have been doing for the ears and the arms. And the very last step is to weave in all of these ends that you've got on the blanket. So thread one onto your tapestry needle, and then you're going to go through the base of a few stitches. So we've got these double crochets here. And I'm just going to go into the bottom of a few, probably about 5. And then I'm going to pull that yarn all the way through, but not pulling it too tightly. And then I'm going to go back in that direction, going under the same stitches, but I missed this first bar. And go under this one here. Go back under all those same stitches. Again, pulling it all the way through, but not too tightly. And then once more back in that direction again, skipping that first bar of the first stitch. And then pulling that all the way through. And then just cutting that loose end really close to the fabric. And then you can go ahead and repeat that with all of the other loose ends, and then your project will be all done and ready to use. I hope you've really enjoyed making this.